What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Fudge Muppet. I'm Scott here with Michael, and today we've got a bit of a discussion to have.
Yes, we're talking about The Elder Scrolls 6. I mean, we have been talking about The Elder Scrolls 6 off camera, and we just thought, why is this happening off camera? This is something that people would probably be interested in hearing, and we'd even be interested in hearing what you two think. Because we
have
talk
all these
a lot.
massive conversations about it, but then, you know,
they never see the light
you're
of
never
day.
privy to it. You know, it's all behind the scenes.
Yeah,
So.
and so the general thing that we were talking about is, man, it has been a long time since Skyrim came out.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all know the meme. Yes, there's been the different editions of Skyrim that have been released and re-released.
Well, I think the thing that really prompted this whole conversation too is that, well, Starfield's delay, right? So Starfield got pushed back to 2023, and that could be pushed back further into 2023. You never know, right? That every pushback on Starfield makes Elder Scrolls 6 that's that much further away.
Yeah.
You know, so then we were like, wow, is it actually going to be something like 15 years plus to Elder Scrolls 6? And if you consider like, you know, Arena, the first Elder Scrolls game in like 94 all the way to like, you know, 2011 for Skyrim. It's like, we're going to have that whole distance, but for Elder Scrolls 6.
That is a long time. I mean, like ages and ages ago, I'm talking like in 2016, I remember being quite confident that, you know, because it just seemed so silly. I was like, we've got to get Elder Scrolls 6 at least by 2024 at the latest. Then it became like, okay, it looks like it's going to be 2025, 2026. Now, after the delay of Starfield, it's feeling like it could be 2027. And so what we want to talk about a bit is how different the game is going to be, because I know you definitely think it's going to be very different. And there's a few reasons why. I'm inclined to agree, but obviously for the purpose of discussion, I'm probably going to play devil's advocate at times.
Well, I think we should call first out the big difference here is that between Skyrim and the eventual Elder Scrolls 6, we do have the Elder Scrolls Online, the big MMO, which has had plenty of new chapter releases. And Elder Scrolls Online sometimes I feel like gets a bad rap, but it's added a lot of good stuff. Like, it had a hard start, and some of the lore, you're like, and then the bits and pieces. But as it went on, it became a really popular game. Lots of people really enjoy it, and a lot of the lore they've added is good. Like the Elsewhere expansion and stuff, and all of the gods. Like, they do have, you know, I don't feel like that happens with every iteration. They add a lot of new stuff, cool new stuff, and then, you know, they take away some of the...
There's some bad stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there is some peak cringe too. I mean, you look at the sword singing stuff where you've got that Sai Sahan character, whatever his name is, coming out and then actually singing. Yeah. And it has this, like, I lost my mojo, Austin Powers vibe of like, oh, I lost my power, like, la 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 la, I'm gonna summon a sword again.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you'll get your Xbox Connect voice command where instead of shouting, you'll sing songs and we'll summon spirit swords or something like that. But in general, I suppose the point of what you've been saying a lot to me is think about the theme difference between games, right? Like, especially even just the jump between Oblivion in 2006 and Skyrim in 2011. That's a 5-year jump, but the feel of the game, the atmosphere of the game went from a very, like, almost Lord of the Rings, but high fantasy, high saturation, a bit whimsical, and yes, dark at times, and there's a nice contrast. And you've got blueberry-haired dark elves talking, you know, instead of their nice, dark, gravelly voices. Come to Skyrim, things are a lot grittier. You know, like, that's a theme change. It's not just a province change.
Yeah, well...
You can imagine a Skyrim engine. They go back to Cyrodiil. I mean, look at, you know, the Beyond Skyrim Broomer and things like that. It just feels different still.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, they'll up the color in that. And if we look at the Elder Scrolls Online, that has a theme difference as well. Yes, it's an MMO, but as you say, some of the armors, and I know some people out there disagree, and I'll fight to the death. I will die on this hill. A lot of the armors, they look factory printed as.
Yeah, there's a lot more of a manufactured look. It looks a little bit more modern cosplay sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes there's exceptions. There are cool armor sets, but overall, it's like that's something to really consider as well, to factor into the tone change, is that the Elder Scrolls Online's been setting the tone for the Elder Scrolls series. Well, it's going to be for like 15 years in between, you know, between Skyrim. When did it come out? 2013, 14? Whatever. It's going to be over 10 years by the time of Elder Scrolls 6 that Elder Scrolls Online has set the tone for the Elder Scrolls universe. And if you I feel like you're missing out something if you think that's not going to have an impact.
Because the thing is as well, like you got to keep in mind, you know, we look at this beautiful video behind that I edited together, and it's easy to look at the mods and everything and think that this is the current theme of where the Elder Scrolls is. But this is kind of just modders and YouTubers keeping it alive. Yeah. We don't know exactly where Bethesda is going to take the game. You know, we may get a much more artsy, less hyper-realistic looking Elder Scrolls 6 that takes more inspiration from the visual style of Elder Scrolls Online. Of course, it's going to look, you know, way more HD and, you know, like crisp and beautiful. It's a next-gen game. But we don't know exactly what the feel will be like.
I think that's too, it's like, it's like, consider that there's going to be kids that have been born and then grown all the way, and they're 15, they're in high school when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. You're going to have Starfield in between that. The technology's changed heaps. Also, like, industry-wide expectations of what is supposed to be in open world games, and people pushing the limits in sort of story and sound and every sort of area that you can in a game. It's like, my working sort of theory is that Elder Scrolls 6 is it's kind of gonna feel like a soft reboot of the series in a way.
This is where it gets interesting because it may and to support that point, actually, I will say, think about like, we know that ZeniMax is involved with Elder Scrolls Online, but think about who bought Skyrim. Skyrim was a household name. I mean, we were in high school. Every single kid had a copy of Skyrim. The casuals, basically. The FIFA players, the COD players. The whole market just stopped to play Skyrim. And so Bethesda made a lot of money without necessarily having to appeal strictly to like these Elder Scrolls lore-beard fans. So you have that community. And when Elder Scrolls comes out, guess what? If Bethesda wants to make money, they're the ones who are going to be buying the game. It's not going to be, you know, all the subscribers of Fudge Muppet, you know, or you know, people who tune into our topic about why I think, what are we on now? Oh, Umbra still. I was going to say why Maik the Liar might be an aspect of Rajin the Khajiit Trickster God. They don't care. And then, so that's one subset. The other one is the fact that we have all of the Elder Scrolls Online players. And you think about the Elder Scrolls Online community, there are players who started playing Elder Scrolls Online who have never really, or it was their first Elder Scrolls experience. You know, I'm sure they go on and like Skyrim, and they'll go and try and play Oblivion and Morrowind, but a lot of them can't really handle it. It feels outdated to them. And to them, Elder Scrolls Online is the best Elder Scrolls game. And they're the ones who are, you know, in the forums, on Twitter, you know, in the comments, basically saying, I want this and that, and I hope Elder Scrolls 6 has this. So you've got all of the desires coming from, in a way, larger than I think people recognize. Because obviously the lore community and, like, you know, Fudge Muppet and all, like, this kind of stuff and different YouTubers are still a strong community, but there is a huge voice out there that has very little to do with appreciation for the single player game lore that, you know, to us seems much more well known and popular, but to players of the Elder Scrolls Online, they don't know it as well. And then to players who essentially be the, you know, casuals for Elder Scrolls 6, they don't know any of the lore anyway. So,
and if it's like, this is the thing too, it's like they're gonna want to capture that ESO audience. If you've built up, you know, the Elder Scrolls franchise has been attached through this like MMO for the last 10 years or whatever, they're gonna want to capture those people too. They don't want to just make it, you know, single hit. Maybe, look, to be honest, in some respects, you could just go, Bethesda is big enough and Elder Scrolls 6 is anticipated enough that it will just sell crazy regardless. Like, it could be the worst game in the world.
It should sell like hotcakes out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of the thematic change stuff too, and also just throw it out with a soft reboot kind of thing, you can kind of look at how from Arena and Daggerfall era to Morrowind, there already was a kind of soft reboot.
Of course, 100%.
Like if you look at,
that's a hard reboot.
Yeah, but like if you have a look at the Daggerfall era stuff and all the costumes, and it's like that very like 80s pulp fantasy kind of
your
look,
barbarian chicks with their bikini armor.
And you can see it had a bit of a thematic shift. And then, like you were sort of saying before, it's just like between a Morrowind to Oblivion to Skyrim, they sort of have it's just a thematic feel to it. Like everything in, you know, and they've even talked about it, like with Skyrim going into the design process, they really wanted to capture that sort of like Conan the Barbarian energy, the grittier Viking look. That's why there's like a lot more colder tones in Skyrim, like even the visuals. And whereas
you walk into Solitude and someone's being beheaded. You walk into Markarth and someone's being stabbed. it has a different vibe. Like I've said before, I do appreciate Oblivion, the contrast. You know, Mother's Head in the basement kind of lighthouse thing. That sort of energy is really cool. But we can see some differences.
And it's just also the other big part of it is you have to try and capture new audiences. Like, so we, grew up on Oblivion, we grew up on Skyrim, like towards the latter part. Like we were like 15, 16 kind of thing when Skyrim came out.
They've captured us anyway.
And they've recaptured some more with like special edition, like some people that might have like picked it up later. And Skyrim it's got a bit of a cult classic sound. It's like the same as how people play New Vegas or whatever. But
of course.
Continue. However, going forward, even potentially another 8 years, 6 years or whatever.
Well, I mean, as a funny example, it's funny you bring that up. I know Bethesda didn't do New Vegas, but look at the difference between Fallout 3 and New Vegas to Fallout 4.
Yeah.
There's a obviously there's a lot of similarities. We're not here trying to say like, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be, completely different, unrecognizable, but that's a long time still. It is such a long time because it's easy to think of special edition and just like whatever the latest edition
Anniversary
was.
edition.
I literally forgot the name of it, and kind of just forget that that's the same game that was done in 2011. There's going to be and it could be better though. And this is what I would say is if Starfield is actually the role-playing game that Todd Howard says it is. Now, Todd Howard's word is a bit, whatevs. But if it really is the super heavy role-playing driven game, and I know he said, they've gone back to some of the old things they've kind of learnt from Fallout 4. If they do a good job, and it's not just like, we fixed the problem, you can join the bad guy pirates. But it's like, if it really feels like a good role-playing game, and also they've also touched on the mechanics, and that feeling of like how in Oblivion, birth sign, class, minor skills, major skills, attributes, even all these different things. Elder Scrolls 6 may bring some more of those things back if Starfield is received well by a larger audience. However, that being said, the incentive to bring those things back is still quite low if they don't have to. Obviously, attributes. Generally, the way things work is with this is they go one way. So if they're going to streamline as they have, because there are some good things about streamlining too, if they're going to add things back in role-playing wise, I don't think it will be exactly the same. It will be like a new attribute system, which by the way is not a bad thing because the old one had plenty of flaws, to be honest.
Yeah, well, they'll do things like reintroducing the complexity through perks or something like that, or like other things like. But the thing is too, like it being so far in the distance, like actually Starfield will give us a good indication of where some things might go, because even if you, for example, look at the appearance of perks in Skyrim, absolutely is largely due to the success of perks in Fallout 3. People enjoy them. Like people like perks, very clear. So those games across their franchises, it does sort of shape the way they play games in general. So if Starfield does have whatever systems it has, you better believe that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be like borrowing or building upon them. And, seeing where the successes are. Because if you've got a successful system going, like, you're going to run with it.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if we get some heavier settlement building stuff. Not as a main focus, but, you can see it. They're like, Daggerfall, this kingdom versus this. The city's been sieged, rebuild it.
Yeah, I mean...
like, you're a king or you're this. You can build a castle on a plot of land here, which is fine. So long as it's not like... rebuild everything because you're in a war zone and in place of side quests and new locations with interesting characters, it's just blank slates to rebuild. That would be horrible. But I don't think they'll do that, to be honest.
No. But I think too, us being a primarily like a lore channel in like recent years, so and like really invested in the deeper lore and so on, I think it's just very easy to you've got to approach Elder Scrolls 6 as like, it's going to change a lot. It's been like, a long time in between,
And especially when you consider, because, we grew up with Oblivion as kids. We went back to play Morrowind. Even when we played Skyrim for the first time, we're quite young still mentally. Like, we're teenagers still. It's a different feel. And when you already know the lore so well, you notice what's wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas you go into Oblivion for the first time, you don't know anything about what they said Cyrodiil's like, because as a kid you hadn't played Morrowind. Yeah. But you know, all the Morrow boomers were like, "Oh, what's this? It's meant to be different. There's meant to be gondolas going down some river like Venetian style with jewels all over the place."
And it's, you know, sometimes they go like, yeah, it's the limitations of the engine or whatever. But I think a lot of the time it is just a stylistic change, and those things happen. You have like, you know, think of how much fresh new blood at Bethesda is going to be working there in, you know, 5 years. Like, well, between Skyrim's release and now. And the other thing too to consider, it's like somehow there are people like, arguably in the lore communities and stuff, everyone's still invested in the Great War, the Thalmor, and all of what's going to happen. But we've been kind of waiting on like when's this second Great War coming? Because, you know, obviously that's going to be an Elder Scrolls 6 thing, potentially, like is going to sort of continue the Thalmor conflict that was there. Yeah. But it's like, we've now been waiting for like over 10 years. And it's like, by the time we get it, we'll be waiting 15 years to resolve the Thalmor conflict.
Here's some interesting food for thought, but I wonder how it would have felt. I mean, I know we lived through it, but like after Oblivion, there was the Oblivion Crisis. Yes, Martin came and basically saved the world. But I'm sure if you had asked me back then to kind of heavily speculate what's next, maybe I'd be saying, oh, in the wake of the Oblivion Crisis, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Even you look at the timeline, the Great War happened, all this stuff happened and we didn't get to play it. So maybe it will jump forward more than we think. As I said in the Third Empire podcast, it would be interesting if there was some situation where essentially, you know, the Dragonborn kind of becomes emperor or has a child who is the current emperor of the time.
Well,
like,
even so,
you could see a
you
whole
know how we
different
were
dynamic.
like talking about how like usually Bethesda doesn't like to like step on toes of setting canon for people,
for sure,
and so on. Imagine if instead if you make a sort of multi-generational empire line has been started by a Dragonborn, therefore like, you know, they could have mixed with different race here and there and a Dark Elf mother here or whatever. So whatever your canon was that my Dragonborn was male, female, or whatever race, it can still make sense.
Makes sense.
Because you're like, it's a great grandson or something.
I mean, the thing is though, it'll be interesting to see the canon outcome in the Civil War as well, because if the game is set not long after Skyrim, the whole season unending, no outcome and like idea is still pretty cool. You know, you're playing Elder Scrolls 6, you're in Hammerfell, and you know, some I don't know, some travelers come through and they talk about, oh, the Civil War back in Skyrim, blah, 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 is raging on, having issues. But maybe they'll say, oh, it looks like the Imperials are going to win, or it looks like... But in the same vein, I could say a Stormcloak victory from a story perspective is also incredibly interesting. So there's a lot they could do. It's just some people might be like, I joined the Imperials, what's this?
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting too, because remember, there's going to be all this ESO lore that's going to be set in. I just, you know... Yeah, the Elder Scrolls has, like, you know, they've still got the High Isle thing coming, and I'm sure there'll be ESO DLCs.
Look, they're very focused on the Elder Scrolls Online, even as people who, I mean, obviously, and we deal, you know, with Bethesda a little bit in terms of, like, you know, we'll go to gaming events and things like that. I mean, this hoodie is from Bethesda, you know, got Fudge Muppet written on the sleeve, but it's an Elder Scrolls Online hoodie, and they're very much about the everything is about the Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah.
And it has been like that for a long time. Even, funnily enough, even when like special edition comes out or anniversary edition comes out, it makes the same or less waves than a new Elder Scrolls Online expansion. Yeah. From an internal point of view. Like yeah. It tends to just be like, oh yeah, Bethesda, they've done a remaster, you know. Yeah. Cool. and people get back to what's the next Elder Scrolls Online thing.
Yeah. It's the Elder Scrolls franchise, it's got...
We're going to see.
Yeah.
We're going to find out.
It's got some problems. Well, it's more so potential problems. Yeah, it's like there is as the gap grows bigger and bigger between Skyrim and so on and Elder Scrolls 6.
I think the fresh blood thing you said is a big deal too, because some because people often give, and you see this with New Vegas, people give a company credit when really it was like a lot of the stuff that you like from a game was like a handful of writers and designers who were in the right place at the right time, who dreamt up some really cool stuff, and it was allowed to get executed on. I mean, like, look at Kirkbride, like how much one person contributed to Morrowind. Yeah. You need those people. Currently, who's working on Elder Scrolls 6? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe they are amazing, but we don't know. And, you know, you can expect it to be a different, you know, it's different people, you know, draw a picture and then have a friend draw a picture of the same thing, and the style will just be a little bit.
And as they say too, it's like, you know, like art reflects the current like culture, society, and like, so, you know, whether that's movies or whatever, but video games too.
Yeah.
It's just like all of the sort of like, I guess like political appropriateness or whatever about certain things in Skyrim in 2011, 10 years ago.
It's actually a different time.
It's going to be a substantially different time. So that's going to tone shift a bunch of different things and so on. And
it could. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's could be absolutely like a good thing too. It's not.
We shall see.
Yeah, but there'll be a lot of Elder Scrolls 6 discussions to come because we're gonna have a long time to talk about it.
That's the thing. I just really wanted to have this talk on camera, because it is interesting to speculate on where we think and where you think. And I mean, when I say like I'll read the comments, I really do. Like I may not reply to them because there's just so many, but I will be there flicking through, reading, going, that's
we'd love to see some different insights and so on, and because it helps us also, like, you know, recalibrate our thoughts and build upon it for further discussions and stuff.
And that's the thing, because often as well, not everything needs to be a podcast too. You know, like, we don't need an hour to talk about this, but it's like, man, we have all these conversations. Yeah. You know, we'll be doing something and just have a chat. People want to hear it.
Yeah, well, and let us know how much you enjoy it and stuff.
I like the setup. We've kind of dragged some chairs out and put on our.
I've been working on a wall.
Crisp videos.
So yeah.
Oh, look at that. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Social media links are in the description. Let us know what you think, and also what you'd want to hear some small chats on, because we're always down to just get out the chairs and the microphones and have a chat.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.